Hi. Um, we will continue with our discussion about Java object-oriented programming and data structures. And in last lecture, we started with chapter one about Java arrays, and we discussed about how to create array and how to index array. With this lecture, we will move to the third section in chapter one. It's regarding how to do some operations with the elements of an array. And if you recall, last class, when we discussed about create an array, we use the new operator to create an array, and the array will just hold of the default values regarding their data types. Okay. For integer in our examples, the default values are all zeros. And then we reassign values for each individual elements of that array. There is another method, and in this case, if your array is not very large, so what I mean is your array length is not that long, so it's a short length array, then we can also do the declaration of the array and at the same time also initialize the array, okay, with specified values. So the way to do it, so here we give the index, how you create an array. So you declare an array, okay. So declare is just the type, square brackets, and name of the array, and a semicolon, okay, a statement. And in Java, you do need to do the new to create the space for the array. Later on, we will see that. Okay. And there's a second way to initialize array with the specified values is you use the pair of the curly brackets, and then you provide the specified values, the exact values. You put the values within the pair of the curly brackets. Then in this case, uh, basically, the first elements, so name of array sub-zero, okay, it will automatically has the value of element one. So the element one will automatically be assigned to the first element. So same is true for the second element. So element two will automatically be assigned to number of array sub one. Okay. So we sometimes refer element of array as like for we refer name of array, the first element, we call it like name of array sub-zero, sub-zero, and here we call sub-one. So the index you can call something like that. So in this case, is we declare an array, okay, and also initialize it with the initialized values instead of the default values. Okay, so this is regarding do some operation with elements of array. Okay. And the next concept in the array application is also very useful, is we need to know how to write method or functions, okay, Java methods. But array as parameters, okay. In Java, we already know like write a method with just regular variable as a parameter, okay. But here, how to pass array as parameters, okay. And also in Java, there is a key concept is parameters are passed by value. We only have this passed by value. This is different with C++. C++ has a difference of pass by value and pass by reference, okay? But in Java, we only have the concept called pass by value, okay? And pass by value, and here we needed to know the difference regarding the parameters. If the parameter is a primitive type, okay, if the parameter type is primitive type, okay, then the parameter just a copy of the original values. Okay, so there is no way for the method to change. So it will not change the original value. So that's the key concept here, okay? But if the parameter is object, okay, so if it's object, then when it enters the method, it's not just the value, okay? What it is, it's we call it a copy of the reference to the object, okay? So it's a reference to the object on heap, okay, on heap, and later on we will also discuss that. So because it's a reference to the object, so the method can modify the original object. So here is a very important concept in Java, okay, pass by value. Because if you learn C++ or C, then there may be some confusion here, okay? So that's a different concept because in C++, pass by value, even the value the parameter type as object, you cannot modify it. It won't after you call the method, okay? But in Java, that's a different story, okay? It depends on the parameter, if it's a primitive type or object, okay? And array consider. So in Java, array consider as object. It's not a primitive type, okay? So because of this, so the method can modify the original object. It's due to what it pass in as a reference to the object on heap, okay? So let's first take a quick look of the concept here. Then when we discuss the example, we can understand it better. So in the previous slides, we just mentioned so when the parameter type is object, then what it means it means a reference copy. Okay, of the object on heap. Okay, so then here's a concept about the heap. Okay, so what is that? Okay, so we know that in computer, okay, in operating system, we have the memory, computer memory. Okay, it means it used to store some related information in your program so that your program can run. Okay. And for the computer memory RAM, and we have two different type. One is called the stack memory, okay, and the other one is a heap memory. So that's what we just mentioned regarding the reference copy. Okay, so reference point to the heap memory. Okay, so with stack memory, it's store static allocation related stuff. Okay, so it's store primitive data type. So primitive data type, it is stored on stack. Okay, and local variable stored on stack, and also function call stored on stack memory. Okay, so. But for heap memory, what is used to store is dynamic memory, okay, and objects, okay. So array, okay, and generally speaking, dynamic memory is related with, so whenever we see the keyword new, so that's a dynamic allocated. So when you call new, the new will allocate memory, okay, allocate memory where it's on heap, okay. So that's the concept here. So let's go back to the program to understand it better. Okay, so this example is in our textbook, the chapter 1. It's Java Array X2. So let's take a look about this example. So this time we create an array called array B, okay? And the same, you to create an array, you specify the type. This is primitive type, and you use the blank square brackets. But this time we do declaration and initialization, okay? Declare and initialization at the same time in one statement. So here we use the curly brackets. Okay, then you provide the elements. And we don't do new and with the specify the capacity of the array. So the length of the array then is determined by the number of the values that you put for this uh, array, okay? And then next we use the for loop, okay? Loop through its index, okay? And then you can access each individual one. And so what this part, what it does is you can do the summation of regarding the whole array. Okay, so to do that, you use a for loop, the regular for loop to each individual element and then do accumulation. Okay, you sum. Okay, then you can find the summation of this element. And because like the summation of array probably is one of a common method, common a task that can be used a lot in some program, is it? So that's why you can also, to avoid you write off those operations in the main function, is it? We can do modular design to write a function to perform this accumulation summation operation. Okay, so let's take a look about that method. Okay, calculate array summation. Okay, so for this method, this method is a class method within our main application. Okay, so that's why here we have this static. Okay, so it's not a member function of a class. It's a static function of the class, main class application. So the name of the array is calculate array summation. The return type is a primitive individual integer type. Okay, so here we pass array. So array as a parameter. Array as a parameter. Okay, to do the summation, we all know is that you need to have some initialization value for your array. Okay, so here's because it's for integer summation, so we start at 0, and then you just keep accumulation. Okay, and then you return the summation result. So it's a pretty simple one. Okay, method for the summation. So this is a parameter, and just keep that in mind. In Java, no matter what, okay, all parameter it's pass by value. But here the pass by value is not the contents of the array. Okay, so here basically, in this case, it's the copy of the reference. The reference. Okay, and the reference, then it will point to heap memory, if you recall. Memory. Okay. So basically what it happens is in main is it we have that array B. Okay. Array B will be passed in, is it? And here you have this ARR. Okay. And this is the stack memory. So both of them are stack memory. But here you have the heap memory. Okay, the heap memory, then you have a 10 slots block of memory because it's integer and integer integer, is it? So it takes some memory. Okay, so it's 4 bytes. I remember. Okay, so it's 32 bits. 2 bits, okay, and you have 10 of them, 10 of them, okay, so each one install, each one store one integer values, okay, so basically the name will point, so both of them reference to the same block of memory on heap, okay. So over here, it's passed by value, but just keep that in mind. It's a reference to the heap memory, okay? So we understand the concept, this concept, then you can try to work on the knowledge check 1, okay, from our textbook. And then over here, so here we call the method. Okay, and then you pass in array, this array. Okay, you just provide the name of the array you pass in. Okay, here you cannot use ARR. You got to use ARRB. Okay, whenever you pass in, you need to use the array created in main method. Okay, so be careful about this. The parameter name in the method declaration, that's for the method. Okay, it's not the actual one. Okay, so the actual one on the heap memory is this one. That ARR is basically just a copy of this ARRB in this regard. Okay, it's pointed to the same memory block on heap memory. Okay. Okay, what next? There is a method we call it. We want to check if the element is in the array. Okay, is the array. So here we have two integer value, 19 and negative 19, and we want to check if 19 or negative 19 does exist in array B. Okay, so let's take a look that math elements. So elements in the array. So this method, the return type is Boolean. Okay. So this is a function return type, name of function. Okay. And then parameter list. So here we have two parameters. One is array, one is primitive. So this is object type. This is primitive. Okay. And so you just check if, so use the comparison operator to check if it is, okay, using the loop. Okay, once you find it, then you return. So pretty straightforward for this method. So here is also a kind of like a review of Java method. Is it for Java method to write the Java method, you always need to declare the access scope as public, private, or protected. Okay. And if it's a class method, then you do need to use static, but that's not always okay, because depends on if it's a member method. Then the return type, like we just discussed, okay, and the name of the method is it, and then parameter list, okay. And here, once again, this array is passed by value, even though it's passed by value, but actually you can modify. You can modify it within the method, okay. After you call, then it will also be changed. So let's get back to how do we call it, okay. So then you see, we call it, is it call, just put the function name, and then here you pass in. But be careful, okay, when you pass in, when you call method, you need to pass in variables in main. Okay, so just keep that in mind because in the past, some students still pass in with the name of the method, the parameter name. That's not correct, okay, because that doesn't exist. There is no memory location. So you do need to pass in a variable that you already created in main. Okay, so once we understand this part, then you can also try to do knowledge check too. Okay. And then let's next take a look. We have uh, a third method discussed in this example is we try to find the largest item in the array. Okay, so the way to do it, generally, this is just a very general algorithm to find the largest element in a sequence of items. Okay, you start with the first one and store it as the largest one temporarily, as it then you start from the second one, you compare with one, and if the following one is larger than the current largest one, then you update it. Okay, and all the way to the end. Okay, so this is not like a find in if it exists. If it is exists, you check it. Element exists. Once it find it, will return. Okay, but here you need to go to all the way through the array. Okay. So with this, then you should be able to try to do knowledge check 3 to find the minimum item. Okay, so similar algorithm. And then let's take a look in main. How do we? So in main, then you see you can just try to call the method and pass in with the array. So array B over here we also initialize it. Okay, so it does exist in heap memory, okay, and with all of the respective concrete values. Okay, so that's for section 3 and section 4 regarding chapter 1. Okay, so we will stop here.